The South African series against the Netherlands is in doubt, and this is after the first ODI between South Africa and the Netherlands was called off due to rain. But COVID complications and the new variant that was found in South Africa have added a little bit of extra sadness to all of us as South Africans, of course, and cricket lovers as well, where we could be seeing either a very bare summer or no summer of cricket at all. And this is going to be crazy for all of us, especially us at Cricket Fanatics Magazine, because we were really hoping to have cricket, and in this particular period when it is our cricket season, it's going to set us back quite a bit actually, because of these COVID protocols. Because with India coming, with us going to New Zealand, there's so many games with England in June, July, August. There's so many tours that South Africa are going to be involved in. The West Indies, I think, as well, with regards to the women. There's also going to be tours that are cancelled. South Africa also have to go to the World Cup, the 22 World Cup. So I'm hoping that this doesn't get completely out of hand, but we're going to update you on everything that happened, from the game to the COVID updates and everything that we can update you on from a South African cricket perspective. But before we get going, before we get started, please subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. It's 100% free. The link is in the description. And you guys can call in on the show as well and have your say if you want to, because there were some interesting performances that we can speak about on today's show. Also, subscribe to this channel. Click that notification bell for all future videos, as well as smash that like button and click that comment section. Get involved in the comment section. Share this with all your friends and family, and let's get straight into today's video. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine, and this is your review show, and we're going to be updating you on everything that happened between South Africa and the Netherlands. This is going to be a tough one to speak about because we are still waiting on updates as well, and I'm going to give you guys the updates that I have available for you guys as well, as best as I can, and I'm going to be reading those things out for you too. So let me start with that before we get into the match, of course, because I think that's what we're going to have to be discussing. We've got Aaron with us as well today. Welcome to the show, brother. I'm just going to be updating everybody now on what Cricket South Africa said about this particular tour and what is actually going on, because there's a lot of rumors obviously going around and reports going around about this particular situation. So Cricket South Africa and Netherlands Cricket Board are aware of news reports doing the rounds regarding the Netherlands tour to South Africa being cancelled or postponed. Both boards can confirm that the following updated information is highly unlikely that the visiting team will be able to fly out of South Africa over the weekend. The KNCB is reviewing all of its options while prioritizing the physical and mental well-being of its players. A decision on the continuation of the series will follow in the next 24 or the 48 hours, while all flight options are being considered. No other comment will be offered until a definite resolution has been reached. Now, that's what was told to us during the match. But over the last couple of hours last couple of hours basically, there has been updates with regards to South Africa and the travel updates. And I'm going to be reading you some of that. The country is open to South Africans, and there are some that are still on the list, but there are also bans that have taken place now from now onwards because of this new variant that has taken place. So this week ended on a turbulent note for the travel industry. The UK moved South Africa into the red list, and some countries are also imposed restrictions on South Africa travelers as well. So different requirements may still apply depending on the country of travel. These may include, but are not limited to, quarantine upon arrival, additional testing, or vaccination requirements. This list of countries open to South Africans is updated on a weekly basis. So this is the one that I have from flightcenter.co.za. For updated information, please check the travel map, which is provided over there to contact the traveled. So it's quite tricky. I think Croatia, Czech Republic, Dubai, Denmark, France, Germany, India, Israel, Italy, Japan, Malaysia, Mauritius, Netherlands, Philippines, Seychelles, Spain, Singapore, and UK. So those are the bans from a South African point of view, unfortunately. There are some countries open for vaccinated South Africans with some restrictions, like Abu Dhabi and Andorra, Angola. There's a whole list of here. I'm not going to read all of them. So there are some that are open still with regard if you're vaccinated, which is quite a few, and then there's also some that are that with certain restrictions with regards to quarantining, etc. So it looks like the tour will be called off. It seems that way. If the Netherlands cannot get flights this weekend or over the next 24 to 48 hours, there might be a chance that we could still play. It could be. It's a possibility. I'm not going to rule it out completely. But instead of getting our hopes up, I think we just prepare for the worst and say that most likely this tour will be called off. Unfortunately, they were going to play this match. The first reports came out that they were going to play this match, and then after that, we were going to move on from there. But that is how it is currently. We obviously have a state of the nation, or not a state of the nation. Is we have a family meeting, is what we call it. We've got the president that will be speaking to us in South Africa at 8 o'clock. So in about 15 minutes time. So you guys look in the news, and obviously you will see updates from the president, etc. If you just type that in on Google in general, so people can find out what's really happening here in South Africa with regards to that. It's unfortunate that we are involved in there's always drama when it comes to South Africa and it comes to cricket. So it's almost like the cricket is doomed in South Africa currently because something out of their control is always coming in the way. But let's talk about the cricket in the first match. There are some positives to speak about, particularly from a South African point of view. This would have been a very difficult ODI review to do because I wasn't holistically very happy with the entire batting performance, but I was happy from a personal point of view because two of my favorite players obviously put on a good show. So Zubair Hamza and Kyle Verreynne both getting off centuries. Obviously, Kyle falling 5 short of his 100, which I would have loved to see. He's his highest score though in ODI cricket. He surpassed his score against Pakistan, which was at Centurion as well. So it's good to see him get a 95, but heartbreaking to see him not get that triple century because, I mean, obviously, triple century, I mean, the 3 digits. Imagine a triple century. I would love that in early cricket. But anyway, to see that triple digits and see him get that 100 for South Africa. We had Zubair Hamza obviously getting a maiden half century on debut, which is excellent for him. He's now scored a 15 both tests and ODIs, which is good for him as well. Hopefully that in the longer formats we will see him. Even though domestically he's been doing really well in T20 cricket. But what I want to speak about as well is someone that you guys, some of the guys in the comment section have really been having a go at over the last couple of months and a year, and that is Andile Pehlokwayo, who put on a magnificent performance with a bat, which is what we've been waiting to see from him, particularly those straight drives down the ground for 6. He scored some massive sixes, even in the last over, to really push South Africa to a defendable total, I would say, because South Africa weren't in the best of positions. The senior players really let us down in this particular game with the bat. I feel that Riza Hendricks let us down. Okay, Yanaman looked good at the beginning. I think what surprised me, or what shocked me, not what shocked me, but what I was surprised about is that they were shocked by the pitch, because this wicket wasn't a typical Centurion wicket. The ball was quite kind of sticking into the ground, and there was quite uneven bounce throughout the game. And sometimes they would think that it was going to get maybe chest height or mid drift, and it keeps low. So, and some of them skied over. So there was inconsistency with regards to the pitch and patches in the pitch, which I don't think they would have had a lot of time to assess beforehand. So it is understandable that the team batting first is going to struggle and basically show the opposition how to bat on the pitch. And I think the Netherlands didn't. I don't think it was a bad decision to put South Africa into bat first. So from and also I thought, I didn't know that there was going to be rain forecasted. I didn't check the weather beforehand to see if there was going to be rain forecasted for this particular game, and clearly that's what put an end to the match. After, I think, the Netherlands looked pretty decent in a couple of overs when they started. So especially targeting guys like Wayne Parnell, who came into the side, who was playing his first ODI game in like 4 years. So I would expected a lot more from David Murray. That's my view always, is that because he doesn't play as much cricket for South Africa, and much cricket in general, I expect him to be awake and alert and ready for every single game that he plays, and try to be consistent. Because ODIs, he got an opportunity to bat a little higher up, and I expect him to score every time he walks to the middle. Now you can't expect that from a cricketer, because cricketers do fail more than they succeed. But ultimately, when you look at it, if you compare him to a more senior guy like Rassi, who came into the scene, Rassi was amazing in his approach. He scored not consecutive, but he scored in almost every single match he played for South Africa. He scores runs. So I thought that if we can expect that from Rassi, we could expect that from David if he bats up. But I have to take into consideration that he doesn't play a lot of cricket. I was disappointed with him. I was disappointed by the way that Yanaman came down the wicket when he didn't really need to. Played a shot that he didn't really need to, and it was an opportunity for him to really pile on the runs. And of course, I was disappointed with with Zubair Hamza going out and Calvareno going out at the time that they did. But it's good to see them get milestones. I'm trying to just be objective over here. I don't want to just be running around here saying, oh my God, they play so well, the VP Blitz duo," and I don't want to be doing those type of things right now. So I want to try to look at it objectively. It was an opportunity for Calvareno to cash in, and you could see his disappointment when he went out. So, and the dismissal of Zubair Hamza would have proved what I was talking about with regards to the wicket. That ball kept quite low. He expected it to be there to pull, and it was a little bit lower than expected, and he ended up skying it. So it's one of those pitches. It was a weird Centurion pitch. I don't think I've ever seen a Centurion pitch like this from my recollection and my memories, as memory serves. So yeah, overall, I think there were some three great performances from guys that we really wanted to see perform. So first and foremost, Richard, there's a lot I covered now. I covered COVID situation. I covered the game itself. Let's start with you. Your thoughts on both?
Uh, it was just less than 12 hours ago we were talking off air about the COVID variant and the fact
Yeah.
that, you know, at the moment it doesn't feel like it's gotten out of control, and then suddenly, you you wake up in the morning only to see stock markets across the world reacting to the news of this new variant. So obviously it's serious stuff, and I really feel for South Africa. It's I've been in this position with the Delta variant first being discovered in India, and to then see how it's been the dominant strain of COVID across the world has been quite devastating to see. But in saying that, prominent experts across the world have said that it's going to take a couple of weeks before we actually determine the nature of this new variant, and so people shouldn't panic, at least not now. Um, as for the cricket calendar, it's tough on South Africa. There's no doubt, and it's never nice to see nations pull out of tours for reasons such as these. But it's sort of understandable, right? Um, you never want to be stuck in a particular place. Um, it's sort of understandable with respect to the India tour. As of now, the India A tour is going to continue as planned, and Graham Smith and Saurav Ganguly, they they are friends. They do get along quite well, so I know that they're in constant touch. Um, but we don't have a lot of news on whether the senior men's tour, commencing in I think exactly a month, will continue as planned. We don't know that just yet. Um, that will probably take a couple of weeks to determine. Um, so yeah, I think all of that's it's all in all, it's quite unfortunate to see South Africa in this position. With respect to the cricket today, 277 for eight. I'm not going to lie, I felt it was an underwhelming performance. Uh,
Yeah.
so if I'm very happy for Kyle Verena. I'm happy for Zubair Hamza. I'm particularly happy for Andile Beklukwayo because on this show we've talked so much. I've talked so much about Andile batting at the position that he has and not been able to up the ante when it really mattered. So for him to score 48 of 22 balls at strike rate of 218, six sixes included, absolutely phenomenal. And I'd also like to comment Keshav Maharaj for coming in at number nine and hitting 18 of 12. You know, that was a pretty decent knock under the circumstances. My concern for South Africa is that from 1 to 7, your highest strike rate is 85. That's not good enough. And that was Kyle Verena.
I feel
If
like I'm being
if he
reprimanded by the teacher.
I mean, it's fact, right? Like, I think if you're playing if you're playing inexperienced opposition, you know, no matter the circumstances, it's hard to defend a strike rate of 85. And that's the highest strike rate. We're talking about players who've been striking at 60 and 70 as well. In that top six. So I think that's a matter of concern because taking the conditions out of the equation, one would imagine that South Africa would need to aim for at least 350 to get their confidence back up. And again, Aaron could probably talk about this a lot more um, with respect to identity and the English brand of cricket, and just going hammer and tongs for 400. But I have to say that while I'm happy for Kyle Verena, Zubair Hamza, and Andile Pekukwayo, I do think that the fact that your highest strike rate in your top six is 85, that's a matter of concern and needs to be addressed ASAP.
Every single time I see senior players not perform or guys of a certain age not perform, then I keep on saying the same thing. If you gave a youngster an opportunity and they got that same score, we would have learned more from the situation. And that's always been my case with this. If they don't see Kaya Zondo, Wayne Parnell, Riza Hendricks in their plans in 2023, then why give them opportunities still? Is what I don't understand. So, as well as when I look at the SA 18 and I see some guy names over there, and some of the guys over there are most likely going to get their white ball debut before they get their test debut. But yet they're playing in the SA 18 in a 4-day match against India, which makes no sense to me at all. Where they could have gotten up like Michal Pretorius for me, I feel that he'll make his white ball debut before he makes his test debut. What's he doing in the SA side, for example? So like it's one of those type of things that I look at and I'm like, there needs to be a little bit more thought processes beyond just looking at the stats and how players did in the format. So when it comes to selections, um, but I don't know. I don't know. We have to maybe get Victor on the show again and try to ask him actually what he thinks about this. But let's not give Netherlands any credit because I think that their approach with the ball was excellent. I think they hit the correct areas consistently. Yes, okay, a couple of wides and maybe one or two no balls, but ultimately they hit the right areas and made it difficult for South Africa to score on a sticky wicket, I would call it, because the wicket, you don't expect the ball to bounce off this wicket in Centurion like it did, and it was a little bit stuck in the wicket, and the Netherlands actually bowled well to do so. Um, okay, yes, maybe Kingma, one of his wickets off, obviously off a full toss, but it doesn't matter. He hit his lengths quite well throughout his particular performance. So, Aaron, from your perspective, I also like to hear about the Netherlands. I mean, if this tour is cancelled, which players were you looking forward to seeing from your perspective? Because I know obviously Rudolf van der Merwe is a player that we all like to see again come
Hmm.
back and play cricket again. But from your perspective, like who was as a neutral, which Netherlands players are we unfortunately not now going to get to see?
Oh, that's a very, very good question, Khalid. And before I get into that as well, I just want to echo Aditya's sentiment really about what's going on in South Africa right now. Because you have to think back to 2020, we had our tour abandoned, didn't we? And it's so unlucky, and it's happened yet again this year. Just can't catch a break. But at the end of the day, I mean, we've just got to monitor the situation. We're going to have to take this little bit of a back step for this series and just see how things go on. But it is disappointing. I can't lie, and I honestly do feel for the people of South Africa. I really, really do. In terms of the Dutch players, just before I get into some players who I wanted to see a bit more in this series, can I just say Fred Klaassen today?
Mm.
Absolutely fantastic. Got some movement with the new ball as well. Got Reza Hendricks out. I'd love to know your thoughts on a certain thing with regards to Reza. I've looked into the stats as well, in particular strike rates. I know, Aditya, you'll be interested in that to say the least. But I thought he bowled really, really well. You mentioned Vivian Kingma as well. He was outstanding today. And I know that he did have that little piece of luck, but I always say this, you can say maybe it's because I'm a bowler, but you create your own luck in the game of cricket. So I do feel as though Vivian Kingma did bowl quite well today. Someone else who I think he did leak runs, but Brandon Glover, I think if this series is to go ahead, he would be my player who I'm really disappointed not to see more of because these conditions suit him absolutely beautifully. I'm not talking about the wicket today. As you said, Harley, there was a little bit of that two-pace nature. Balls were sticking in the wicket slightly, but on a usual Centurion wicket, he would be feasting. He really would. He is that hit the deck bowler, short, sharp, lethal barrages of deliveries. Brandon Glover would have been absolutely licking his lips at the prospect of this series. And now we might not be able to see him in action. So that's a massive, massive shame as well. In terms of the batting, Max O'Dowd, we saw a little bit of him. Obviously, the Netherlands only got 2 overs, but he is a sensational batsman, one of the best in associate cricket. So classy, so powerful, so destructive at the top of the order. And in terms of someone who, I'm not sure if we would have seen him in this series, but someone to watch out for very much in the future is Boris Gawley. Now, I don't think we would have seen him we didn't see him today. As I said, I'm not sure we would have seen him in this series, but just someone to watch out for in the future. Netherlands under 19 captain, all rounder, off spin bowler as well, right hand bat. He's quite a good young talent. I must admit, and who knows in the future, we could see Boris taking on Bryce Parsons. Harley, I know you would like to see that in the future.
Yeah.
So that is something that we could see. So I'm disappointed for the Dutch. And another thing as well, because I've seen this on Twitter, I feel like I do have to address this. People comparing it with the England situation. This is slightly different, okay, because the Dutch can't afford a chartered flight. That's what England did to get out of South Africa early. The Dutch can't afford that. The KNCB, there's absolutely no way they've got the budget to afford that. So what these Dutch players are having to do is get on a commercial flight, KLM, which is the national airline of the Netherlands. And then some of these players, I mean, Ruller, for example, Brandon Glover, he lives in Northampton. Okay, these guys are going to have to go to the Netherlands, have a load of quarantine at their own expense, and then come back to the UK. So I think that'll massively, massively play into their hands as well. And as I said, that may also affect the decision, but the Dutch cannot get back any earlier than the KLM, arrivals and departures. So we'll have to wait and see what
Mm.
happens in that regard. Then I did allude to it, the point about Reza Hendricks, 6 from 10 today. It was a nice piece of bowling from Fred Clarson, but the strike rate is 76. Now, as someone who's a massive advocate of Sam Hain in the English setup, a man who has the highest list day average of all time, 59.78, higher than any batsman in the history of the game, his career strike rate is 86. 86. Now, putting Aditya's piece of context, when you bear that in mind, I mean, Sam Hain, who isn't in the England team, could be striking better than a lot of these South African players. So that does show something which needs to happen in this South African team. Granted, today this wasn't a usual Centurion wicket. I don't think they could have gone out there and got 370, 390, 400. I'm not saying that for 1 second. 320, I think, would have been quite a good score if you are a South Africa fan, because you did have quite relatively inexperienced top four. So you can, put that into factor. You've got the likes of Miller. Zondo hasn't played for ages as well. So that is just something that I would say. But I honestly, if I'm being completely honest now, heading into the future, I don't see Reza Hendricks as part of the South African setup. I just think there's too much of a disparity. There's too much of a gap. I've got nothing against Reza at all. And again, he can go big. He showed that in the past. He's a very, very classy batsman to watch, but his strike rate is something we'd expect in 2015 or 2016. We're in 2021.
Especially when they're looking at Janneman as Quinton's partner, it seems that that's the direction they're going.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, when you think of the next generation as well in South African cricket. I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying Ryan Rickleton. Again, he's someone who I would have liked to have seen in this series because he's a fantastic talent. You've got Matthew Bretzker as well. Bryce Parsons is another one. Reynard van Tonder. You've got Wandile Makwetu as well. You've got this entire... See, this is the thing. There's so many options, aren't there? Zubair Hamza as well today. He's proven it. Carl Verreyne's proven himself. Janneman's proven himself. You've got this entire factory line of the next generation, and we're barely seeing them. It's so disappointing. That's something that I will say about this series.
Even though Tony D'Souza as a player as well, it's just there's so many.
It is, and that's what I'm saying, Khalid. If you can get Victor back on the show, I would love to know, a little bit more about that, a little bit more insight with regards, to that selection process, because you've got so many fantastic batsmen. We're just not seeing them, and it is a real shame. It really is. But
I think Victor's keeping his distance from me. I'm asking too many difficult questions.
Yeah, but if you are the selector, if you're the selector, your selections are going to be put under the microscope. Okay, if I was to select the England team tomorrow, right, there'd probably be some funny selections in there, but I'd have to give you my reasoning behind it. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. I would like to know a little bit more about the selection process. But look, at the end of the day, we're not here to talk about that, I suppose, for tonight's episode. The review show, I should say. It's not the podcast. But all in all, just a little bit disappointing, a little bit underwhelming, obviously, if this tour is cancelled. But we'll just have to wait and see what does happen. Again, just one of those. We're living in uncertain times, aren't we?
Yeah, it's a good idea to get you on that panel. Let's try to get on that England selectors panel in the future.
Ollie Stone in every single game, Sam Hain at 3. My goodness. Hey, I'll take us to the top. I'm just saying, if Warwickshire, right, if they ever want to, enter the international arena, I'll take them at least in the top 5 rankings. That's all I'll say. But Sam Hain would definitely, he'd be a regular. He'd be a regular in there.
And a funny thing on the Dutch side as well is that Fred Klaassen is that he's not even born in South Africa or in Netherlands. His surname's Klaassen, so that's a crazy thing from that perspective.
And I'll just say that he was outstanding for Kent. When you look at a lot of these Dutch players, I know obviously the domestic circuit in the Netherlands isn't as prominent as South Africa or England or India or any other of these 4-member countries, but a lot of these guys do play county cricket. You have to remember that. And Fred Klaassen's been outstanding. He was an integral member of the Kent team, which won this year's T20 Blast. So that performance today, it might surprise a few people, but trust me, if you watch this guy, he's so talented. He really is. And someone else who we're not going to see in this series, a little bit of a shame, is Paul van Meekeren. But again, another county regular. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm just saying there are some good talents in Dutch cricket, but we'll have to wait and see if we can see them in this series.
And Aditya, when you look at a guy like, Jason Smith is now obviously playing SAA cricket. There are some other all-rounders as well, batting all-rounders in the system. I think a guy like maybe Ayak Kamani could also get an opportunity at South Africa in South Africa as well. But we've gone for a guy like Wayne Bonnell. I don't know if they are really looking at him as a potential candidate for the 2023 World Cup. Because for me, preparing for the World Cup in 2023, the only mentality should be give guys opportunities that could push the rest of the team and that lineup for their positions.
Yeah, Wayne Barnell is an interesting selection, and I think he's been rewarded for what he did uh, in the recently concluded T20 tournament. Um, was it the T20 tournament that he
Yeah,
did really well in? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I think he's been rewarded for that, and the other thing is that he's he's a left arm bowler, left arm batter. I think that adds variety to um, to the attack. But I think where the team went a bit wrong today was that they selected five bowlers, including Wade Parnell and Andile Pekluwayo. And again, I think the nature of the selection for this game was is quite old school, because even against the Netherlands, I saw comment here saying that there's no way that the Netherlands are going to beat South Africa. In international cricket, you can't take anyone lightly. Besides, it's important for an individual team to focus on the process. Sure, South Africa may very well have won the game had the game continued, but can we really say that we're ecstatic about the performance? Probably not, because South Africa missed a trick with their selection. You can't. It's having five bowlers with Sisanda Magala, who's coming in after a long time. You have Wayne Parnell, who's coming in after a long time. Andile Peklukwayo, who hasn't bowled his quota of 10 overs in such a long time. And you have Tabrez Shamsi and Keshav Maharaj. You have five bowlers. You're setting yourself up for failure. And um, and if something had gone wrong today for South Africa, it would have been a severe blow to their confidence. Uh, so yeah, I think these things need to be taken into consideration. But if we talk about Wayne Parnell again, uh, it's I think the selection was made to add a little bit of experience to what is an otherwise very young team. Um, that's the only reason, and to reward him for his performances in the T20 Cup.
Well, the day of cricket in South Africa, it is almost like God is trying to give us a message because it's a representation of what's going on in South Africa currently with us possibly having the cancelled tours. And Adam's looking at me like, well, where are you going with this? Like, there was a lot of rain across the country, which is a real good personification of actually what is going on in South Africa currently. The sadness that is happening with the COVID variant and extra, and travel being cancelled, and people feeling that way about things. Because I think a lot of people were hoping to go travel again, and they were saving up, especially during the festive period now coming up. It's a time where cricket is cricket is about the festive season in South Africa. It's just part and partial. The New Year's test, the Boxing Day test, it's all part of the festive season in South Africa. It's part of all of us as South Africans. So yeah, it's unfortunate because if you look around the ground in the different games, I mean, even in the 4-day competition, there's been rain affected everywhere. So it's only day two of the games, and almost every single game it rained. There was one result that was completed. Western Province was completely demolished by the Warriors. The Warriors actually won by an innings and 114 runs. So that's an update for you guys on that one.
Who plays for the Warriors, Khalid? Which famous all-rounder plays for the
I
Warriors?
have no clue what you're talking about. It's just went right over my head. I completely forgot right now. So I'm just going to read you some of the scores. Obviously, it was just a bowling day for the likes of the Warriors. Bowling practice in a way you could call it, because the Western Province had a very, very you could say, young team that played. So Gavin Kaplan, Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith was one of the top scorers with 25, um, 29 for Yasin Valley, and this was in the second. This is on the second innings, of course. And Bashiru Dean Walters again scoring 52 this time. He's doing 52 this time in this game to try and save the game. Didn't really work for him. In the first innings of that game, everybody was completely destroyed. Nobody made it past 20. So it was unfortunate in that one. But we had, from the Warriors perspective, we had Matthew Bretsky that really put on an excellent 100, and Rudy second that scored 76. Also against a very, you could say, inexperienced attack. From a bowler's perspective, we had Mtinabe that took 3 for 33 in the first, to bowl Western Province, to help bowl Western Province out in the first innings, and as well as a 3 for 7 from Tsepo and Dwanda, and 2 for 9 from Alindile I can't say his surname, Mletwa, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's obviously a newer guy in the team that I haven't seen before. And then we've got in the second innings, it's been quite hectic over there too, because obviously, they were bowled out, but the standout was Vian Libbe in this particular one for 3 for 27. So, yeah, didn't actually have your guy, Aaron, but ultimately that was the one result that finished early in 2 days, so that's great.
They channeled the spirit of John Smuts. Let me just tell you that right now.
Yeah, it is. So guys, if you want to have an opportunity to call in, there is a link in the description if you guys want to call in. It's been there in the entire time, so you can go to the description and click on the description to have your say on anything in South Africa. Click it. Anything else you guys want to say before we get some fan call-ins? If no one calls in the next 2 to 3 minutes, then I'm going to call the show. So
we will get people phoning in. Absolutely. We definitely will. Trust me. Having looked at these comments about the selection process, I think we're going to get some viewers coming onto the show rather quickly. Just a comment from Dexen. Happy Thanksgiving. We don't actually celebrate Thanksgiving in England, but I know they do in America. So to any Americans out there watching live or indeed watching after this, happy Thanksgiving for yesterday. I did know quite a few people celebrating it as well. Oh, yeah, of course, Abai. Yeah, Abai's one of them. And also, shout out to Cricket for Americans as well. Lovely, lovely YouTube channel. Those two are absolute legends, Gabe and Nick. But, yeah, we don't celebrate that in England, to be fair. I was just listening to that, Khalid, actually. When you say about cricket means the festive season in South Africa. I know I say this as a cricket fan. I don't think I speak for every single English person here, but I'm beginning to think the same, actually. Because we do have the New Year's test, not just in South Africa, but Australia. You have cricket going on in New Zealand as well. You got the Boxing Day test, which this year is the Ashes. It is massive. And this is why it is such a shame for South Africa fans. This is why I feel for South Africa fans right now, because it is synonymous with the festive season. And this year, yet again, after 2020, which was so difficult for every single one of us, it's happened again. So all that we can do is, remain hopeful, keep our fingers crossed for the India tour. But again, only time will tell, won't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just
not to mention they missed out on a series against Australia as well earlier this year. So South Africa has really had to bear the brunt of teams pulling out last minute. I'm
crossing my fingers that we don't go into another hard lockdown or something. That's what I'm hoping for, because I don't think I can do another lockdown again. I was pretty proud of myself that I survived it, especially with my parents and my sister all getting COVID in the house, and me the only one that didn't get it. So that period was very, very tough for me, and that 2-3 weeks of when they were under quarantine, etc. Because the quarantines had to be extended every single time someone new tested positive. So it was quite a tricky situation in the household, and it was tough for me as well. But I hope that it doesnn't happen again. We're all vaccinated, of course. Now, hopefully that
our families got COVID at the same time.
Yeah, I remember that. was so tough, yo. We were actually talking to each other, how like checking up with each other every day. Like, how you doing? Nah, I'm okay. How you doing? How's your family? Like every day, like is everything okay your side? It was hectic. It was a hectic couple of weeks. But yeah, let's continue talking. I mean, some of the guys are asking about the Netherlands series and whether it will resume or not. I did speak about it at the top of the show. There was a release that was released by Cricket South Africa or sent to us by Cricket South Africa confirming that they haven't confirmed whether it will be cancelled or not yet. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, they will. Aaron gave a good reason on why they can't take a private plane out or chartered airplane out the country because the Netherlands just don't have the budget for that. So they have to obviously wait and see and look at flights over the weekend. And with the borders closing now, I don't know what's going to happen now. If it's not possible to do that, it was weird timing because the news was breaking today and the match was already scheduled. So hectic, hectic times in South Africa. We can obviously wait and see what the president says at 8 o'clock. And he says South African Standard Time, of course. Aaron, anything?
Well, in terms of the South Africa game, I think we've covered it quite thoroughly. To be fair, one thing that I didn't mention, and I can't believe it, I just want to give a massive mention to Carl Verreynne. I don't think that I said anything about him, but he is one of my favourite young batsmen in the world right now, and he continues to impress, doesn't he? I think back to the start of 2020 with that knock, that incredible display of maturity against Australia and Potchefstroom. And then you mentioned that knock against Pakistan, and he just keeps on getting better and better and better. And I just look at someone like Kyle with the temperament, the mentality, the coolness, the calmness, the assurance, and the class of that guy. That century's coming. I'm telling you right now, we don't know when it's going to come, but it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of when, not if. He is such a fantastic batsman. He really is. I think we're going to be seeing him for many, many years in a South Africa shirt. Same with Yanaman Milan as well. I really do rate those two so very highly. So Carl Verreynne, a shout out to him. Khalid, I know as well, you'll be absolutely buzzing about Zubair. I thought he batted incredibly well today as well. I know he's your boy, and you want to see him back in Test cricket, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But yeah, I thought he did really well on ODI debut. And aside from South Africa, I just want to say one thing in the wider cricketing universe. Will Young and Tom Latham today in Kanpur at Green Park, outstanding. And I'll tell you why. Okay, against an Indian spin attack, which are one of the most fabled in the world. They are absolutely lethal. They tore England to shreds earlier this year. The way in which they manoeuvred the field so beautifully. They dug in there when they needed to. And another thing that I absolutely loved, in particular from Will Young, and I think Sunil Gavaskar, when he says this, you know you're doing something right. But he was lauding his technique of playing spin because he was moving his feet. And let me just tell you this as a spin bowler, right? A terrible spinner at that. If someone moves their feet to you, it really does make them a lot harder to get out. If you're stuck in your crease with your feet almost stuck in concrete, you're so much easier. A spinner of a good quality will get you out in a matter of overs, if not a matter of balls. So to watch the likes of Will Young, Tom Latham, I'm hoping Tom Blundell does score some runs as well. Love him. He's a Wellington Firebird, who are my team in New Zealand. That's going to be a great test. It really is. The surface has been a lot better than I thought it would be at Green Park. Aditi, I'm not sure if you remember it from the IPL in 2017. My word, some of the surfaces in Kanpur there were quite questionable, but the surface is holding up very nicely. New Zealand have played it brilliantly. Tim Southey as well with the ball taking a fifer was brilliant. And again, it's just, you've got the two best teams in the world right now taking each other on in the test. It's great entertainment. It really is. So I thought that was just a mention as well, to be completely honest.
Yeah, my opinion on Carl Verreynne for a long time has been, particularly because of his mentality as well. I always speak about mentality and people that are mentality giants, etc. Okay, yes, he hasn't proven it yet to be a mentality giant because he hasn't really necessarily.
He will though, won't he?
Yeah, I believe that he will. You know what I mean? So I think that South Africa should actually build a team around him. And that's my view on everything, because I feel that his mentality and the way he plays cricket and approaches cricket is very contagious, and it will spread amongst all the team, everybody in the team that comes through the system. And he's at an age which is there's still a lot of room to grow. So I feel that when new guys come in, he grows with him. So as he gets to the top of his game, the rest of the team will also will get better. And I think he's also the type of batter he's very complementary to other batters. No matter what type of batsman you put next to him, I think he can be very complementary to anybody. And that number 4 spot looks quite nice for him, I feel. It suits him nicely, I feel. And he showed that he can hit some sixes when he needs to, but the main thing is that he moves between the wickets quickly. He keeps his strike rate there in and about, and keeps the wickets, keeps the runs sticking over, which is very important to take pressure off his partner at the other end as well. But Zubair Hamza and Calvarain, I think if they can grow as a partnership in locally, because we know that Zubair is captain and Calvarain is vice captain of the Cobras. So the two of them are going to obviously be in communication or not and build their relationship. If they can build their relationship together, they are actually a duo that you're putting into that Proteas lineup. It's a combination of within a pair that is very difficult to find very easily. Guys that are playing all their cricket together in the middle order, in domestic cricket as well as for South Africa. So yeah, future looks bright. We just need to make the right selections and pick the right teams. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning. Yeah.
And intent, identity. I will mention it. I know I haven't so far in the show, but it is important. And I did mention it the other day on the Instagram page as well. Okay, you need an identity. You need to move with the times per se. You need to select the right personnel to implement those changes. So we wait and see. Just one final thing as well, Khalid. I know everyone wants to go. And you're probably sick to death of hearing me, but just one comment from Lorenzo with regards to Calvarain's hand speed. Couldn't agree more. It is superb. He's absolutely brilliant. I'm telling you right now, he really is such an exceptional talent. And I'm not just saying this. I honestly do believe it. I've been really impressed with him ever since seeing him in 2019. Calvarain with the right things in place for him, and obviously injuries and all of that outside stuff aside, he genuinely could become a titan in world cricket. We'll just have to wait and see how he progresses.
And what young cricketers can learn from Carl is a very, very hard worker. And when I tell you, like I've seen him in net sessions, I've watched him in practices. He works exceptionally hard. So it's not only just talent. You get some guys that are very talented that slack off in training, but Carl is far, far, far from that. He doesn't have an ounce of laziness, I feel, in him. I've never seen that. He's always been up for training and working really hard in the nets, and he hits balls until he gets things right. He's that type of man in the net. So very, very impressed with him. And obviously with keeper training, he always tries to get extra keeper coaching in as well. In his spare time when he doesn't have, other than practice, after practice session, sometimes he goes on his own with a keeper coach and he goes and drills in his keeper practice and drills and all of those things that they do. So very hard worker. And that's something that all youngsters must learn from, is that even though you have the talent, you need to match it with hard work. Some of the greatest footballers are very good examples of that as well. So I'm not going to even mention their names because you know what I'm talking about. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks a lot, Aditya. Thanks a lot, Aaron, for coming on the show. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. We don't have a show tomorrow, of course, but we'll be back again Sunday. Hopefully there's a game on to watch so that we can do another review show. But thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys again very, very soon. Take care and enjoy your weekend.